Hi, I'm Sinus Media. It's good to have you back. I wish I could just say that in such the right awesome tone of voice. But yeah, like most online music nerds these days, I'm a big fan of Hainbach. That guy has got the best job in the world. He just finds the most amazing equipment and makes beautiful music with it. So yeah, yesterday he dropped a new plugin, and it's based on BBC Radiophonic workshop technology from the 1960s. So it's just like the perfect storm of all the cool stuff. When I saw it was only 10 quid, introductory offer, even a skinflint like me decided I had to get it. So what is this plugin? Basically, he has created something that's almost like a tremolo that just kind of wobbles the volume of a sound up and down, except he has two inputs to it, two different audio inputs to it, and can wobble between them or can kind of oscillate between them according to various algorithms. So it's a way of taking, for example, some rather long static drones and adding movement and character and transformations to them. So here it is, and I'm going to show you a couple of I've got this in FL Studio, and I'm just going to show you a couple of ways you can use it and the kind of key to how to use it properly. So firstly, let's just add some drones of some sort. So I'm just going to go to a synth let's go to Sora. Let's get a pad from there. Let's get the Nothing Special pad, and let's just go here and make an interesting chord of some sort. Still quite high. Yeah, drag that out a bit. Drag that in a bit. And now I'm going to add another channel with something else. Let's try something from Toxic Biohazard, which I'm trying to learn more about at the moment. And I'm going to get something more rhythmical from this. Let's try Burn Unit. That's actually got a lot of movement already, hasn't it? No, it shouldn't have quite as much. No, maybe we'll just go for another pad from this for the moment. Death Star, that looks good. I mean, it's got enough movement to be useful for our purposes, but not quite so much that it's going to disrupt the demonstration. So if we just play those two together, that Toxic Biohazard needs to go up a bit. So here we have two fairly long pad-like sounds. And what we are going to do now is we've put on insert 3 on our channel 3 in the mixer, Things Motor. So what Things Motor does is it can add to those. Let's put, for example, the first of those on channel 3 and hear how it sounds normally. Take off the second one, and we're going to put the motor on. We can play with this rate value here. We've got, now you can hear it wobbling a little bit. Speed the wobbling up, or slow the wobbling down. We've got the mix of the direct and sidechain, which I will explain in a minute. So the wobbling is following this wave pattern here. You can change the values of these, panning, vibrato, change the speed again. I think all of these values, the tremolo, the vibrato and the panner, are all following the same wave pattern here, which, as you can see, we can sort of drag the phase of it backwards and forwards. Speed it up a bit more, let's see. And you can hear a little bit of that wobbling, panning, wobbling vibrato. Take the vibrato off, take the tremolo off for a second. Just have the panning up. That's not lasting as long. Or if we take the panning off, we just put the vibrato on. So you can hear that sort of slight modulation, slow it down a bit. Or we'll take that vibrato off and we will put on the tremolo. Tremolo doesn't seem to be making a big effect here. Maybe that's only to do with the other one. So we've got a number of waves here. Instead of doing this, we've got a triangle wave. We've got a square wave. We've got some more odd exponential ups and downs. But this is really to do with bringing in the second, and we can change this speed here as well. I'm not entirely sure yet what the difference between this rate and this. I mean, I can see that this rate is how fast that modulation is being applied. I'm not quite sure what the speed of the motor is here. But okay, so that's the basic behaviour of the tremolo, vibrato. But now what gets interesting is when we bring in the second sound. So currently we have that sound on channel 3. But what we now need to do is we now need to sidechain the second instrument into it. Now, if you've ever seen a tutorial on, say, sidechain compression done properly in FL Studio, you will have seen how you can get in. People use the limiter, and you'll see they go to this comp thing, and there's a little box here to bring the side chaining in from somewhere else. So side chaining is when you've got audio on a separate mixer track and you want to bring it into this mixer track, not to mix the audio straight, but to control one of the plugins. So most people have seen this with the compression, using the Fruity limiter in the compressor mode, and they see this little box here that says wherever the sidechain is coming in from, use that sidechaining audio to control this compression. I'm saying that as a reminder. I'm assuming you've probably seen something like that. But here we are in the motor plugin. How do we do the same with this, which doesn't have that little box? Well, I've put the toxic biohazard here onto channel 2, and now here I am on channel 2. Here it's channel 3 is where the motor plugin is. So we're going to sidechain from channel 2 to channel 3. And the way we do that is we select channel 2, we go to this little up arrow here, we'll right click on it, and we'll say sidechain to this track only. So now all the audio that's happening on this insert 2, this channel 2 of the mixer, none of it is going to the master. It's all just going as a sidechain to whatever something on insert 3. And here we are inside the thing's motor. We now want to get this track, this thing, into this effect. So how do we do that? We go up to this extras button here and go to here, and we come along to the processing tab at this point, and here you'll see connections to sidechain is on. Now all we have to do is select that first sidechain that's coming in, and now the sound that was on, anything that was on this channel 2, which is our toxic biohazard, is now being sidechained to the motor plugin on channel 3. And if I now turn this knob here, the sidechain knob, on fully, and you can now hear what's coming in is all this toxic biohazard. We go back to the direct. Here is all what is our Sora, which was on this channel. So that's the way this works. On channel 3 we have the motor plugin, we have our audio Sora synth coming in on channel 3, we have our second sound source, in this case our toxic biohazard on channel 2. On our channel 2 we've sent it here, sidechain to that track only, and inside the plugin on that track we have gone to this, we've gone to the processing tab, and we've chosen to sidechain from this. So that has now set us up to have both of these sound sources together into the motor plugin. So how does this motor plugin work? Well, it's a model of something they built in the 60s where, or it's a kind of simplification, it's a multiplexing thing. You had multiple channels coming in, and what they had was literally a motor rotating some kind of reed head between multiple inputs, audio inputs. So the speed that the motor ran, the faster the motor ran, the faster this thing went round, pulling in at different moments from these different input channels, the faster you got this kind of wobbling between, or this switching between these different inputs. So, Look Mum No Computer has built a version of this. It's his interpretation of how that original machine worked, and it works beautifully. And if you go to the Hainbach channel, the video that I'm linking in the description, which is where he introduces this plugin, he also has links to the physical one that Look Mum No Computer built. So, we're currently looking at, I'm going to turn the motor off for a second there with this button. We're currently just listening to our sawer. We'll come over. This is what's coming on the side chain. Now we get the two, which I think you're not going to hear. And the two are going to be mixed according to the shape of this wave. Well, let's just do the square wave initially. So this is going to swap backwards and forwards between the two. Let's turn it on. Right. You can hear a swapping backwards and forwards between these two input sources. I'll turn that off again. You can hear us swapping backwards and forwards between these two input sources based on the shape of this wave. So and the speed depends on this rate here. If I turn the speed down, on the other hand, if I turn the speed up, so that is the basic principle. But because we've got these different shapes of waves, we've got some more subtle ways of blurring the two together, or blending the two together. So this is a smoother crossover between the two. If we were to go to the triangle wave, you can hear them swelling, and if we go to the triangle, you can hear the swell. If we go to the sine, you get the smoothest transitions. So if we go to these sine ups and sine downs, we've got a more hard transition at this point and a smooth transition there. So So it's giving us quite a lot of, and as we slide the phase of this wave around, we can get slightly different shapes. You know, just by playing with these different combinations of the effects, you can get a lot of different ideas coming in here. This speed, I say, the speed I'm still not sure about, this speed here and controlling. One thing to notice is this is keeping us synced to the track speed. If we take that off, we get a more free, and we can take the speed right up. All the way up to audio frequencies, in fact. This is logarithmic, as you can see here. The actual speed it's swapping across is at 400 as an audio frequency. You can go up to 1000. So this modulation is really crazy. I'm just going to put some drums on this. That's kind of giving us so that's basically what it does, and it is usable in FL Studio. You just have to know this trick of going to the sidechaining here, which I didn't know until I actually came to investigate this. So I bought this and then I was like, oh my god, it's not going to work, because how do I sidechain into it to get the second thing? But then I figured it out. So that's useful. And the other, anything else to say about it? Okay, so is it a good plugin? Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's very much that Hainbach aesthetic. It's a bit steampunk. It's a bit old school, like he does a lot of things with drones from 50s test equipment, so it's got that feel. It really is takes you back to the Radiophonic workshop days. That's how they made these Doctor Who sounds and things like that. It's great fun. Obviously I'm guessing this is going to be more useful for your drones, for your ambient music. If you're making Hainbach style ambient stuff, you can combine the output obviously with, put it through a convolver, turn that up a bit, turn that down a bit. You can combine it with some other effects to make some various interesting sounds. Wish I knew what this speed. I still have not worked out what this speed dial, the speed knob does. How it's different from the rate. That's still mysterious to me. The final thing that's quite interesting, sample and hold. This seems to give you a more or less random square wave, which can be interesting. Turn the speed up a bit. Turn it off. Brings in a bit of randomness too. So that really gives you a lot of ability to see what happens if I just start playing around on here as well. Give myself some more varieties. I don't know how to use this synth at all. I should learn it one of these days. It's going to be different. Some of these random ones I don't even pick from both sides, of course. But yeah, it's great. It's really fun. Should you get it? Would I recommend it? If you want to do this kind of sound design, if you want to make interesting drone music, if you want to make long pads, you can obviously record some of the outputs of these things. I mean, let's try for a second putting some rather simple instruments in. If we just put in a DX10 instrument, and what do we got that's kind of a long sound here? This is a sound which you tend not to use a lot because it is pretty simple. And let's change our toxic biohazard for, say, SimSynth maybe. What's a simple drone? A sick organ. How does it sound like? Needs to go. Let's put it on more. So two pretty standard instruments here. With a bit of effects on this will really start to give you some interesting pads and drones. So yeah, if that's the kind of music you make, I would recommend it. I mean, I'm a big fan of Hainbach anyway. I don't support him on his Patreon, so for me it's worth it just to support him as well, even if it's not going to be used all the time. This thing, it's a nice to have, and right now at 10 quid, it can't go wrong. No, right now it's a nice, it's a useful thing. I'm sure you could produce most of this effect in Gross Beat or some other automation. This is not essential, but it's a quick and easy way to get a whole bunch of these effects, and certainly just kind of instantly more interesting drones. It's great for that. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and it is perfectly usable in FL Studio in case you were worried that it wasn't. It's Sinus Media, and I'm out. What I'm doing here is I'm just playing around, maybe putting some different rhythmical percussion sounds on each side of the inputs. Let's see what that gives us. That's kind of quite interesting.